Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Hobby Farm in the Heights. Today is potato planting day here. Yeah, I probably should have done it before now, but I didn't get to it till now. So I'm going to show you how I cut up seed potatoes, how to do that, and I let them dry and kind of the procedure I go through. And then I thought I'd give you a little tour of all the things that we have started already to show you the progress that's been happening. So if I tip my camera a little bit here, you can see better. You can see it looks like I massacred a lot of potatoes here, but I started cutting them up for seed, and I'm going to show you now how I do that before I plant them. So I have two kinds of potatoes here today. I have Yukon Gold, which obviously gets its name when you slice it open. You can see that beautiful yellowy white gold color. That's really creamy potato. I love this for a good boiled potato. It makes wonderful mashed potatoes. It's not really a baking potato per se. A russet is more of a baking potato, but for mashed potatoes, fresh eating, hard to beat a Yukon Gold. You hardly have to use butter to them. And the other potato I have here is a red potato. This is the Potomac, I believe. This looks like some alien off the movie Home or something. Alien creature. But I'm going to show you a few things about cutting seed potatoes. So when you buy seed potatoes, they come as a potato. And what you'd have to do from there is cut them to make them actually seed. Now you could technically just plant this in, and it would be a colossal waste, because one potato and growing one plant, when you could get, by cutting the potato properly, you could get potentially 4 potato plants that each produce. So that's why you cut them. But you'll notice a difference between these two. This has obviously tons of sprouts already, which are coming from what's called an eye of a potato. Each of these eyes sprouts out, and that is what you must have in order to grow potatoes. This Yukon Gold here doesn't have as many super visibly, but if you look carefully, and I'll see if I can get my camera to catch it up. This one is obvious. You can see that one. But this is an eye of a potato. This is an eye. That's an eye. So there's little eyes, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a knife and we're going to cut up this potato so that we're making multiple seeds out of just this one potato. Now the key thing is you have to have an eye in your cut. So see this eye right here? Let's do an easy one. I see an eye here, of course that eye here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my knife and I'm going to slice through the potato like that. Set this one aside. And then I'm going to decide where to cut next, keeping in mind that I don't want to slice through the eyes, but I want to cut so that there's a chunk of potato to give that eye energy. So I'm deciding to slice right in between these and not slice through that one. So I'm going to cut like this. So I have a potato chunk right here for seed. Now I'm going to let these dry a little bit after I have cut them. I don't want to put them in wet like this. I like them to get a little bit of a crust before I plant them in the ground. But here I'm going to decide, I think I can have still enough chunk of potato. I'm going to cut right there. So this has a good eye, good chunk. This one of course has a cluster of eyes sprouting out there. I don't know that I can get another cut through there. There is this eye here. Potentially I could get a chunk, but I don't want the chunks to be too small on that. So that was the Yukon Gold. Let's grab our lovely alien potato. Now normally when you first buy seed potatoes, they don't have these sprouts. Mine, I bought them probably a month ago. Around here, the home stores, well, the mom and pop garden stores that I like to buy from, sell out of seed potatoes really quickly. So you kind of have to be on it in the spring and get your seed purchased, even if you can't necessarily get it in the ground right away. Otherwise, when you're ready, you go to purchase and they don't have any left. So they're all sold out. So anyway, just like I did with the Yukon Gold, now this one obviously has tons more. And if you have never grown potatoes before or are nervous about this cutting up seed potatoes, cutting out the eyes, I'd recommend a red potato because it's very obvious. You don't have to really search for the eyes very hard. It's not very difficult to find them. The Yukon Gold you saw was a little bit, you more had to hunt and search for it. So this would be a good starter potato if you've never grown potatoes before. So I'm going to navigate through these eyes right there. Let's start with the chunk that's harder. So I can see an eye here, an eye here, an eye here, of course that eye there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut right through here, then I'm going to cut right through here. Each have a chunk, each have an eye. So I have a piece, and then this one looks like I have an eye here and eye here. So I'm just going to cut right through the middle. So I have a good chunk of potato with an eye there, chunk of potato. Some people recommend at least a couple eyes. As long as there's a good chunk of potato, I've had pretty good success with it. This one, making sure that I'm not cutting through those eyes, but around them. There. Wonder if I can get one more out of this. I don't think so. Anyway, so that's how I cut seed potatoes. I'm going to let them dry. My son graciously rototilled my plot for me. I re-rototilled this morning after having watered it yesterday. You want to make sure that your dirt is nice and moist because kind of like with peas, you're not going to want to water them until they start sprouting up. So you want that moisture in your soil to be built up already to give the moisture to the potatoes to start growing. And then once they start sprouting, start watering really well. But you don't want that crust to form, especially with our sandy soils. Sometimes if the soil is dry and you're top watering, it forms this really heavy crust that's hard for the plants to poke through. And potatoes are known for rotting and fungus and all sorts of yucky stuff. Now, you might think, potatoes are cheap. Why in the world are you bothering to grow them? I grow them for a couple of reasons. Taste and quality. And I say quality because potatoes commercially grown have quite a bit of chemicals that are used on them, and I don't have a big budget for organic necessarily buying at the store. And so if I can grow my own in a natural way, I don't consider it organic because to call it organic, you have to make sure anything that comes into your space is organic also. And as you'll see when I walk out into my garden space, I put grass clippings down as mulch on my walkways, and that is not guaranteed certified organic, so my garden technically isn't organic. I say it's natural. Anyway, the taste of a garden potato grown right out, dug up is so yummy and creamy. Yes, potatoes are cheap, but the quality that you get from your growing it, if you have space, of course. And there are lots of hacks. People have tried different things growing potatoes in a small space, potato towers, etc. And I say give them a try. I saw one person had grown them in a laundry basket. It's worth a try. But once you've tasted a good garden potato, you'll be like, oh, why didn't I try this before? One of the projects I want my boys to work on this summer is digging me a good potato pit for potato storage this winter. But let's take a tour around and we can see some of the things that we've been growing, and I can show you the difference between a good moist soil like I'm going to plant my potatoes in, and right next to it will be the green bean patch, and it's pretty dry right now, and so you can tell the difference between moist and non-moist. I will have to water up that plot before I stick in the green beans. You can see behind me our plants growing away. These are the basil that I had separated out before. Look how well they're growing. These will get taken out today and they will be sitting in the sun, shine outside the greenhouse for most of the day. But they're coming along quite nicely. Let's come out here and we can see more of our things that we have started. I'll show you our first planting of radishes and spinach. It's doing really well. Hopefully I can get the camera angle really well, but let me see if I can thin one out and we can see kind of the progress of our root coming in. There it is. You can see that pink thing, that's the radish forming on the bottom there. So I water this 2 to 3 times a day because radishes need tons of water to make a good radish that's not too peppery. And so I will keep it nice and moist. You see our spinach here, our first planting of spinach, has its true leaves coming out now. And so, yep, there's Smokey. Yes, hi Smokey. And then over here we have our second planting of radishes. You can see them in here coming along. And our first bits of spinach coming here. So they're coming along quite nicely. And over here you can see I'm watering my onions. I'll put it down, getting them watered in, but they're doing really well. I have weeded these a few times now, taken a hoe and gone down like a cultivator. We can tell the difference between those, and remember I had some onion starts and onion sets and I was doing an experiment. Well, you can kind of see the difference here. See how stocky? This is from one of those onion bulb sets. Very stocky plant. You can kind of see this next to each other. This was the start from seed and this is the set. So we'll see what size of onion it grows. We're continuing our experiment there. Here's our lettuce. Coming along pretty well. We planted that in the ground from our little starts, I think a couple of weeks ago now. I wanted to show you the milk jug experiment. I don't know if any of you guys took me up on the milk jug challenge, but I wanted to show you some results that I've had. I've been pretty pleased. So I popped this one open for you to see. But look at all those seedlings in there. This is a perennial flower seed packet that my friend gave me of native flowers. And you're thinking, wow, it's really packed in there. But I'm just gonna use the technique that I did before of teasing them apart and transplanting them once they get some true leaves on there. This is my cilantro, doing really well in there. And normally I have them closed, I pop the tops so I can show you our results, but I've been pleasantly surprised how well they have done. I have had to water them quite a bit because we don't get rain here, and so I water them. And once they sprouted up, we had a couple really cold nights, I did take them into the greenhouse because it was getting down to about 28 a couple nights, and so I did take them in just because I didn't really want my new plants to, all my hard work to be gone. Anyway, so let's come out here and look at some dirt. You can see the difference in the soil and when I was talking about having it watered up really well before you're planting. You can see here behind me, it's kind of dark. This was pre-watered and my son just rototilled it for me. But if I kick it up, it's got good moisture down there and it will be perfect dirt for planting the potatoes in. I'm gonna walk back over to where the green beans will go. The green beans I won't be planting now for another probably couple weeks, around May 1st, most likely depending on the weather. I'm hoping we don't have any more freezing nights, but we can always be surprised. So usually my warm weather crops I don't put in until May 1st, sometimes Mother's Day is a good rule of thumb. So let's come down here to this dirt, and it hasn't been watered for quite a while because I didn't want a lot of weeds to grow. But see how I kick it? It's pretty dry. Even kicking it up, it's got not much moisture in there. And so before I plant the green beans in there, I'm gonna wanna water it up really well, even germinate some of the weed seeds and then rototill it to make sure weeds don't get ahead of me. But that I have a good moisture base to plant my green beans into. And so I'll probably start watering it up next week in hopes that May 1st will be my first planting of green beans. Anyway, hopefully that shows you a little bit more. I'm gonna get going here on getting my potato plot kind of planned out. And hopefully this is inspiring and you guys are inspired to grow your own gardens. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below and I will do my best to answer them. And thanks for watching.